Hello and welcome to Hamster Guitars. My name is John Paul Burnett and these videos are an account of my build of the very first guitar that I've ever made. It is a bass guitar, a version of a Rickenbacker 4003. Here we are working on the fretboard. It's the inlays, and as you see there's my plan stuck to the fretboard, and I am actually gluing the inlays on top. Now that might sound a bit strange, but it's so that I can cut round them. I say cut round them. What I'll be doing will be cutting round them with a knife to give me an edge, so that I can work with that with my saw. But as you can see, it's you've got to be quite precise with this, because you don't want your inlays looking crooked. It spoils everything. Now as you can see, I've fast forwarded a little and coming on to the end one. It's just two tiny little dots of glue onto the paper, then the inlay goes onto that, and it just sticks in them two places, just enough to stay tight while I go around it with a scalpel. This is a tried and trusted way of doing this by practically everybody I've watched on YouTube, so it's good enough for me. So I just hold it down, a couple of seconds pressure, and it's in place there, and that's all of them in. Now I haven't got them to go the full width of the fretboard like the Rickenbackers do, because as I keep mentioning, this isn't a counterfeit guitar. This is my own to their design, and there, and you can see it. You can see how it stops back 1/4 inch from the end sides. Right, so here's where the scalpel comes in, and it's fairly straightforward. As you can see, it's just cutting down the length of it, keeping tight to the edge, and all the way down, going both sides of the actual thing. I'm only showing you doing the bottom sides, but you get the drift. Now then, there we go, bit of magic, my third hand there, and then by my powers of magic I will move that piece of binding. There we go. Cut, there goes the binding. Hey, up again. Here we are, back up in the workroom. Yesterday you saw me marking out the inlays on this. Remember how you saw it cutting? Well, what I'm doing today is cutting these inlays out. I've already done one, easiest because it's biggest, but what I'm going to do now, I'm going to video me doing the next one down, and then we'll take it from there. But isn't it going well? Really happy. Also, I don't think you can see that, no, but what that is, I'm saving my sawdust from the neck for filling when it comes to gluing these little pearl inlays in. You know, if there's any gaps, you just mix it with the super glue, and there you go. So, right, we shall see how this goes. Now back to the bench, and here you see me clamping down that particular piece at the top and at the bottom. It's very important that while you're doing this, your work is held tight. Now here's the saw that I bought for doing my frets, but discovered that its tang was too narrow, believe it or not, and I thought I'd bought a pup, but as it turns out, it is absolutely perfect for this. It cuts on the pull, so I can get right in on that angle to cut down for when I'm routing. I can't route right into that angle, but it's great that I can cut right into the angle for when I'm chiseling that last bit out. As you see, that saw is working perfectly, and it's good to keep. It's easy to keep it nice and square. It's, as you see, just using the very tip at the minute, just to get in right into that angle. That was the awkwardest bit to do. But once I was in and got my cut mark, as you can see, just sawing normal, and it cut right into that angle. So here comes the Dremel. I have a little router attachment on the end of it, and it's just a straightforward small Dremel cutter. When using a Dremel, well, like with ordinary routers, you've got to do it just a bit at a time. Just take a small amount off. There's no rush. Once you start rushing things like this, you start making mistakes. So it's just concentration, check, have a look, and see how you're doing. Just clearing it out there, and then we see where we've got. Back in, take it out and drop it a little more, and off we go again. The router does make easy work of this, otherwise I'd have been trying to cut and chisel it all, but this is absolutely perfect for it. It really is. I'm just blowing it away so I can see where I am, and with this router attachment it's easy to see. It's quite open there. Clear it out again. Now you see me cutting down a little bit more. Well, when I stand up. And again, just with a tip into that corner. That gets me. These inlays that I've got that are about 2mm thick. So, which is good because this fretboard has got quite a radius on it, so it needs to be relatively thick, otherwise when it gets to the edges it's gonna, if it were only 1mm thick, there's a good chance that when I got to the edge the wood would be showing underneath. So here I am with my chisel. You'll be glad to know I've learned how to sharpen chisels, and it's doing a job great. Now what I do to get into the corner, I actually put that chisel on its side when I get to it, and it just, because I've managed to cut but right into the angle, it just breaks it out. It works perfectly. It might be a bit more difficult when I get to the really acute ones, but I'm sure. There you go, you see, on its edge now. And it's got, look, it's got right in to that corner. Well chuffed with that. Just a little bit of tidying now. Get it all, because that has to be flat. Otherwise, you don't want it rocking, or else it won't glue right. I'm going to try that in now. It's like this one. I wish I had smaller arms and hands. You'd be able to see more. But there you go. all in, and it's fit quite nicely. Eventually get it in, and there we are, first two done. Now I won't be covering the rest of them because it's just all more of the same, so you won't be seeing the fretboard again. Now then, I got a nut for the top of the neck. I bought it from Rickenbacker. Yeah, I thought, okay, I'm going to buy at least one piece that's, you know, real. But unfortunately, this is the thing in question. It's not the same as my template, not template, my plan. So I'm going to have to adjust it. The 7.25 radius that's on the neck that I'm building is clearly different to the more flatter radius that's on this. So what I did, I don't know if you'll get to see this, but I got my, I took my plan and I drew over the actual bit there. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to file it down, then get myself some tiny files to do the notches. So quick break from doing the inlaying, and I'll just do this. So. Here we go. Now this is one of my files that I bought, and rather than try to put the nut inside a vise and do it the normal way, what I did was I just clamped my file down to my bench and just rubbing the nut against it, which works perfectly, as you can see by all the stuff on the file that it's working. That file really cut through this bone, and all I did was I just kept looking at me drawing on it and just stuck to it. This won't be how the nut finishes. I'll do the final adjustments to it once it's in place, you know, because we don't know the height of the frets and everything. So this is just a basic outline of the radius on the top, with plenty left underneath to lower it if needed be. Just rounding that edge off. See, it's also quite easy because of the movement of your wrist, how, you know, to get the shape on the edges. I'm quite happy with this little idea. It's probably been done 1,000 times before by other people, but you know, shows I'm thinking in the right direction, I suppose. And there you are, all done. And then we have it. All I need to do now, get myself some a pack of little nut files, and job's done. Happy. A little job done. So, okay, another day, another dollar. What I have here is a dry clamp up of what will be the guitar's wings. The two body parts that go here and here. Now, what I'm doing, just testing that there's no gaps between each one of my pieces, and what I'm doing, I'm using one piece of walnut and 2 pieces of maple to, you know, it's. I don't think that it's. I don't think it's the way that Rickenbacker do it, but you know, I'm not making a counterfeit guitar. I'm making my own in the style of Rickenbacker. So it's always best to test that it's all nicely together before you put the glue on. If once you glue it up, it's glued. I know I keep saying it, but there's a lot of expensive wood here. So it's that measure, cut, measure twice, cut once. That applies to everything. Like, you know, it might be belt and braces, but always set it all up as if I've glued it first. And when I'm happy with that, then I'll go it. And that's what I'm going to do now. So, here we go. As you can see, the glue I use is Titebond. Now, a lot of people say for this you should now use Titebond 2 or even Titebond 3. For years and years it was good enough to use Titebond, so why change now? As you can see, I'm putting plenty on and making it so all of the wood is covered. Most important that you really have to be sure that every bit of that is covered, so you get a good glue joint. I think I've gone a bit too much with glue here, and most of this is going to squeeze out, but you know, it'll just squeeze out to what it needs to. And you see, I've got lines on this wood, so I can line it up, and so I know where it wants to be. There you go. That's so that because I'm gluing it together staggered, so it was important that I got it right. And once again, with the walnut, spreading it so it's all nice and even. Nice even coat all across. And once that's on, same as before, we just adjust that to the other wood, and as you see the line again, get the lines together. Once they're together, we make sure they see what I'm doing. I'm pressing down to make sure that they're all in line at the bottom, because once it's glued, and if they're not in line, it's a lot of planing and losing of thickness. So we don't want that. We don't have that much to play with. So tightening up, and you can see I've got squeeze out across the full length of both joints. That's what I wanted to see. And as you can see by the amount of squeeze out, there's, you know, I did put too much on, but there it is. There's one side, and there's the other, all glued. A familiar sight from my room. I love this site, I really do. Next day, and there's me taking off them clamps. I've been wanting to do this part for a while, because you get to see it. It begins to look a bit like a guitar, which is wonderful, because after a while you sort of thinking, still don't look like a guitar. But here are my two body wings all glued together, and the glue joints were nice, all in line and all ready to just put through the thicknesser again. So that's the top and the bottom done, and I'm just showing you now both wings. So all well and good. And there is the outline shape of my guitar. There's a neck, headstock, but there you see the wings are now on. They're not glued on, they're just put there, and I won't be gluing them yet, but I will be cutting the inside curves, because once it's on I won't be able to do that. And there you see top curve cut and the bottom curve cut. You know, I haven't cut it all because I'm leaving some on for clamping, so I can clamp it nice and straight. And there you're going down now, fretboard onto body. It really is starting to look like a guitar. Yeah, getting a bit giddy now. It's starting to look like it should. Now it's time for me to mark out the back of the guitar so that I can get a line for shaping the neck into the body. I do that by just continuing the cut. Well, not the cut, but where the cut is, I'm going to continue the line onto the back of the guitar, and then from there I can work out the nice shape it's going to be. So now that there's my what's called a French curve. I use it in when I'm making clothes and stuff, but it's very useful for this because it can follow any curve, and as you can see, it means I can follow that curve on the back of the guitar from the top through to the bottom, and that's how I can keep that shape. I will carve that shape out for about 1/4 of an inch down, and there it is. And my usual finish, the rooftops of Whitby. One of my favourite things. Look at that. I do hope you found this episode interesting and carry on to watch all the subsequent ones. I'm enjoying building it. So, to find out how I get on, please subscribe to my channel. Maybe leave a like or a comment. That would be absolutely brilliant. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next one.